What's going on, you guys? This is your boy Dom coming live and direct from Porn Addicts Help, where we give tips and strategies to help you overcome porn and masturbation addiction. Today, I have a special guest, and it's none other than my beautiful wife, Jatan. Like they used to do back in the day. We don't have sound effects, so I'm gonna do the sound effects. Dun!
What's up, everybody? Hi.
So, folks, the reason that we I wanted to do this because I was talking to another sister today, and she said, "You know what, Dom, you really want to focus on the women too." And the thing is, the program that I have at www.pornagshelp.com, those tips and strategies are not only for men; those apply for women as well. However, I felt it important to do a module specifically for women because I'm gonna let my wife explain because she's a woman and I thought no better than a woman to talk to another woman. And I just want to let you guys know that even in what I'm doing, my wife is behind it 100% and my wife is helping me 110%. So anyway, I want to focus today on women and masturbation. Women and masturbation. When we first started talking about these modules, honestly, I didn't want to do it. But to whom much is given and much is required. And I realized that especially in the body of Christ, there's a lot of people that are dealing with porn addiction and masturbation addiction, and it's kept them from really being the people that God wants them to be. And honestly, it's keeping people from going to the level that they need to be finding a husband, finding a wife, having kids, um, you name it. I mean, it's caused a lot, right? Um, objectifying one another, things of that nature. So I want to ask my wife a question. So, baby, we were talking earlier about uh, masturbation. Um, what's your thoughts on women, specifically Christian women, struggling with masturbation? And I say that because keep in mind, 50% of Christian men struggle with porn addiction, but however, 20% of Christian women deal with this as well. But I want your take specifically on masturbation and its effects with women in general.
Okay. I would say, like, I think you're right, because just thinking about the sex industry in general, sex industry, um, movies, television, and commercials, these things are, typically when it comes to sex, it's usually geared to get men's attention. But yeah, women do have their struggles, and especially, since this is geared for Christian women, women can also have those struggles too. And it's not necessarily, which is why I'm proud of you, babe, for talking about this because it's not really something that's talked about, that, women may be suffering in silence, and typically the devil goes after women more because men are visual. But the unseen thing for women is, um, women, just like our sexuality, is more geared towards mental and emotional. So I think where women kind of get themselves into trouble is with fantasy. Men develop, visual fantasies, which is why porn is, really typically geared more towards men because it's something that they can see, and then comes, the masturbation afterwards. But women, women, it's more mental. So I guess, women, if you ladies know, like looking at things like, maybe romance novels, reading romance novels, romance books where, the mind is creating these images, because you're reading these things and you're reading these sultry, very sensual writings, and your mind is creating these pictures
Hmm.
in your head, and that is where you get into some trouble there because, like I said, and then, I think, the vulnerability for Christian women, with that is the fact that, here it is, you're trying to live for God, you're trying to live right, you're waiting for a husband, and unlike, perhaps maybe a woman who doesn't have a relationship with God and maybe trying to live for God or wait for a husband and hold yourself, perhaps you're not really, she may not be out there trying to do that. So, for her, she's not, in her mind, she's not under any constraints to, try to withhold herself. She
Right.
just, hey, if I want to date and, I want to sleep with this guy or whatever, I'm going to do it. But for Christian women, um, for us, you're trying to live right, you're trying to do the right thing, and you're trying to get yourself in a position where God. The thing of it is what in the meantime, especially for those of you that have been waiting a long time. So that's not that's that's more than a notion. When you've been waiting a very long time, how do you hold yourself? So I know that there's a lot of women out there that definitely struggle with this when you've been waiting for a very
Masturbation.
long time. Oh yeah.
So let me ask you this. So do you think that based on what you've said,
Mhm.
women masturbate?
Mhm.
Well, because of the emotional connection,
More so a
but a
fantasy.
lot of Christian women in particular masturbate because they've been holding themselves for so long,
Yeah.
and that's their outlet in order to express their frustration. Like, what is that? Like,
Correct.
why would you say that a woman, in particular a Christian woman, would masturbate?
I would say yes, that because she's, like I said, placing yourself in her shoes, just like a man would be
Hmm.
trying to, you're trying to live for God, you're trying to live right, you're trying to do the right thing, you're trying to be holy and present yourself, present a clean vessel to the Lord, and all these different things that you're trying to achieve.
Okay.
But yet at the same time you still have that natural drive, and it's like when you get presented with certain hardships, like waiting out that process, waiting for a husband, or waiting for your wife. Sometimes that's not an overnight process. Sometimes, for a lot of Christian singles, especially for women, their wait is very long. So I think that it's the waiting, and that, yes, is a form of an outlet. And I think a lot of times women may not, and this is just for the woman that may not know, but you have some women out there that feel like, okay, well, I'm not hurting anybody, I'm not fornicating, I'm not sleeping with anybody, so I'm not quote
Hmm.
unquote fornicating or doing any of those things because I'm not actually having any intercourse with the actual man. This is just me, you know, in my situation. But in actuality, it's still a form of, but they don't know, it's still a form of fornication spiritually, because
It's
when
fornication.
you, yeah, it's because you are still sinning against, number one, sinning against your own body, but then also two, as you continue to do that, what ends up happening is you end up inviting those spirit husband, spirit spouse, and those things are very, very real, very powerful, very real.
Yes.
They will come and they will have sex with you at night, and the point is to continue to violate that body and violate your temple and make it, even to the point of running away, even a potential spouse or
Yep.
potential husband. That has happened. So spirit spouses are definitely real. Guys out there that, you ladies, you understand, like, you've had those experiences where you've had dreams where somebody was having sex with you in your dream, or you've had experience where you feel like you've been somebody's touching
Hmm.
on you at nighttime, or you wake up, from out of your sleep, and you're very, very sexually aroused. You understand what those attacks are. Those are spirit spouse. Those succubus spirits that come upon people, both men and women, at nighttime to have sex with you, and those lust demons that come up on you. So, um, like, he was saying, in a, knowing, like, what's going on with that, is, I think that's, like, really, really important. Ladies, I think you're more vulnerable with that, that waiting time. So that's probably going to be your time where you want to probably spend less time, because I would agree. Like, wouldn't you think, like, those times, like, that you fall more prey to probably masturbation is the more time you spend alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like having try to avoid idle time. I think
I
that
don't mind is the devil workshop.
exactly. I think if you avoid having your mind being idle, and having too much idle time on your hands, idle time with your mind, those are opportunities where the devil can come in and introduce those suggestions, because that's what it is. They're suggestions.
And then another thing too, just based on what you said something, and I thought it was very poignant. You said that a lot of women, uh, I guess, masturbate because of the emotional attachment, because they read a book and they
Loneliness,
they
yeah.
they're lonely, and they see something within the pages of that book that they wish could translate on the outside of those
Mm-hmm.
those pages.
It's like living in that
So
story.
it's like, oh my God, I wish I could have this guy do me like what was
Mm-hmm.
done in this book. And so now you've given yourself that auto suggestion. Now all of a sudden your body responds to the suggestion because you've allowed your eye gate, your eyes,
Mm-hmm.
which are the windows of the soul, to read this book. You read those words and you believe that in your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And so now your body lines up with that connection. It lines up with the pages in that book. So all of a sudden, it's like, oh my God, I need to go masturbate. I
Right.
need to go get my dildo, or
Toys,
the
whatever it
toys
is
or
you want to
whatever it
call
is,
it.
and then they end up being in a full blown situation where the dangerous things about it is people get so accustomed to those things that they don't even know to have a normal, healthy relationship with another guy,
Yeah.
another,
Yeah.
whatever the case. Because we're talking about just women on this,
Because nothing
but
can compete with fantasy. That's the
yeah,
thing. It's like you can't, a real man, a real woman, fantasy that you created in your mind. And that's the thing. Just like with anything else, even with dating, like, you guys know of persons or people that, you're like, what's wrong with you? They can't seem to find anybody because it's like you've got this whole like list of things that you want in a person. It's like, okay, well, this is not like Build a Bear Workshop. Like, you can't, construct your own, mate and stuff. So likewise with this, it's just, if you have developed these tastes for certain things like masturbation, you have trained your body in a sense. You've
yep,
trained your body, you've trained your sexuality, or you trained your body to respond a certain way
yep, to
with
desire certain
sex,
things, yep,
desire certain things, to desire sex a certain way.
yep.
And when somebody, a real person, comes along and they don't do that, then you're not satisfied, or you're not happy with
I don't like
that
this guy
individual.
because this guy is not 15 inches like the sex toy that I got down in the store.
Yeah,
And
it's
I
just
can make
silly.
it do this, and he's not doing that, so I'm not happy. I need to break up with him.
Yeah,
You
it's
see
just
that
that kind of stuff. That will
yeah.
that will, those are things that are, and that's the downside. One of the downsides. One of the downsides to porn addiction and masturbation is because it inhibits you from having a natural, normal, fulfilling, satisfying relationship with another human being, another person, a person of the opposite sex.
Right. So with that being said, what's a tip? What's a strategy that women everywhere
Hmm.
can take that will help them overcome masturbation?
I will definitely say this, and this is, because I read, because when I was younger, I was an avid reader, and one of my favorite types of books were romance books. So the first thing I'm going to tell you right there is to get out of those romance books. If you have any romance books, get rid of them, throw them away. Stop buying them. Stop checking them out. Stay away from romance novels. Stay away from sex novels. Do not read those because it's literally like porn on a page. Because and like I said, I will
Yeah,
add
true.
this. The reason why this one is even more powerful is because it's mental and not necessarily visual. It's mental. And the thing about it is, it's not just because unlike porn is just
Visual?
the visual and it's just the situation.
Right.
Romance novels get you all involved in the character. it paints like this whole portrait, this
It
whole
creates bigger
picture.
stakes.
The yeah, it's like this whole romance
Mm.
situation, and then it gets the reader personally engaged with the characters. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like this is the characters come alive off the page. Their life, their storyline, all that stuff plays a role in constructing this whole like fantasy world, like this
Mm.
whole thing, as opposed to just porn where the situation is just what it is. Like, oh, you
Oh.
walk into the room and bam. It's like there's really no background to it, unlike a romance novel that has all these other things going on in the background to help cement that fantasy in your mind.
So it's almost, can I ask you this? It's almost like, you know how you hear stories of men gaming women over time. Slowly they'll say little things, tell little sweet nothings, and then over time she's with this man that she said I would never be with that guy ever.
Mm,
But then he just slowly broke down
her
her
barriers.
barriers because he was gaming her. He was saying different things that appealed to her, that those little sweet nothings, things of that nature. So from what it sounds like, you're basically saying that romance novels sort of operate in the same way. It breaks down, I guess it breaks down certain barriers, and it basically hits women in their emotions in a way
Correct.
to where it's like, man, I wish I had this happen to me.
Correct,
And
because it
then
speaks to the
it
romance. Like
speaks to the
women,
romance
as
part of it.
women, we
Okay.
want romance. Women want romance. We want, because oftentimes, for those of you that read, romance novels, oftentimes those romance novels, it'll, paint the picture of a fantasy, this fantasy thing where the guy's like this, he's rich, he's handsome, he's debonair, and he can say this and that, and he's good in bed, and he's all these things, and he wines and dines the woman, and
Mm-hmm.
he can just sweep her up off of her feet or throw her down in passion and all these different things. And it's just like it combines all the things that typically that women are programmed to want and desire in a man, but it just adds sex into it. So it's like you get all this whole romance storyline and this whole romance fantasy, right? But then they insert sex into it, and um, the sexuality or the sensuality of it is very, very strong, and it's very, very vivid. It's very detailed,
Yeah,
very, very
I've seen them
detailed.
same books.
Yeah, those Harlequins, those,
Crazy.
I
I'll
forgot some
do
of
it.
them. They're very, very,
Zane.
yeah, they're very, very,
Yeah.
very powerful. So
And
I
you
would
know,
avoid if you women stay out of those books. Like I said, if you have them, throw them away. And then again, another huge tip too would be just being idle. Try to avoid idle time, having too much idle time on your hands. Go out with your friends. Go running. Go out with your friends. Clean up. You know what I'm saying? Go engage yourself. Find a hobby. Do something else with your time. You need to find something else to fill up your time so that way your mind is not left idle
thinking
to
about
go off and
loneliness and all
thinking
that kind
about
of stuff. Yeah.
loneliness and fantasizing, because
Hmm.
that's where the devil will come in and start to mess with mess with women, because he has an understanding of male and female
And
sexuality and the
you know what
difference.
I know about the devil, and it's funny you said that, babe, because what the devil will do is literally, he'll literally introduce a man to you that's just like the man on the pages of that book.
Oh yeah, to get
And,
you real good.
and you'll be like, oh my God, he's a man of my dream. This is the same guy I read in the Zane book. And then you're gone, and this guy is literally sent from the devil and will destroy you. So, yes,
Yeah, he's definitely set to destroy you,
sent to destroy.
to bewitch you.
And it's so funny because you know what? I told my wife this probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And it's so funny. I said, we were looking at something, and the guy was bumbling, fumbling over his words. You know, you could tell he was confident, but you could tell that this guy like really liked. You remember, he really liked the woman.
Hmm.
And I said to her, I said, you know what? That's the type of guy that most women need to talk to right there. I said because this guy is sort of like, yeah, baby, I saw you from around the way, and I just couldn't think. You know what? you're breaking my heart the way you look at me.
Oh Lord.
Just being smooth and the words are
Yeah.
like oil. Most women, they're so a lot not most, but a lot of women who are bound to addiction,
You're programmed for
they're
that.
programmed to think that game, that the little smooth words, and people say, "Oh yeah, I like him because he got good game. He got good game." I'm like, okay, good game means that this Negro can
It's playing
lie.
games,
He
yeah.
can lie. That means he's good at lying to you. The guy who's not smooth is probably the guy that you need to talk to because that means he's being genuine. That
Right.
means that he's not coming with something that's like
Anything pretentious.
pretentious or pre-rehearsed.
Right.
But we have a culture that is used to lying so much that we think that that's
Normal.
normal. And even going back to what you said, babe, it's so funny. I was reading a statistic, and don't quote me. I can't give the source. I want to say it was like ChristiaNet.com or something, but it says that in regards to what you said right there about women reading those romance novels, it said that a lot of women take their relationship, those fantasies, that masturbation, they tend to take that from the pages of books and actually execute that in real life. So they've been looking at these Harlequin novels, this basically this written porn, and they
Mm.
say, you know what, I gotta have that. I gotta find me a dude that's hung
Like a horse
like
or
a
something.
horse or something. And if he not hung like a horse, I don't want it.
Yeah, that's just that. I mean, that's just insane. Like I said, stay.
Yeah,
The biggest thing I would say, because women, like I said, women desire, and the devil knows what women want, and he knows what men want, and he knows that women operate, our sexuality operates different. A woman's sexuality, her biggest sex organ is here in her mind.
you gotta warm them up.
This, once the mind is there, then we are there.
Yep.
So he understands that, and those that write these type of books also understand that in order to grab the readers or grab their female readers, it's got to have the whole package. It's got to have the romance with it. And most women, we want romance. We want to be romanced. We want to be desired. We want to be desired. You want to be romanced. You want to be told you're beautiful. You want to feel beautiful.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you want, you know, yeah, yeah, just like any man would want. Most women, they want good sex. We want to have good sex, and know that that person wants you. So it's just like when you read these books and things like that, it you transport yourself into that storyline, and you know that's where, like I said, where women get into trouble. And not saying that it can't happen visually for sometime for women, because sometimes a woman could be looking at, albeit I will say that, you know, a woman, if she is looking at something, it may have some other elements for her, because there are some women out there that do look at porn, because the landscape of women's sexuality is changing. But maybe we can get into that later. But for the average woman, when it comes to seeing anything visual, more than likely it probably has some of those elements that a book would have. It won't just be like a straight up sex scene. It may be something about what she sees on TV or whatever that triggers, okay,
And I
that
and I
response.
think and this may be controversial, what I'm about to say, but I think that a lot of women too, some women are truly undercover freaks. Let's just put that out there. And they want my wife's like, and they want to engage in certain behavior. However, they want to engage in that with the right individual.
Right.
And I think that when they're reading these books, that gives them the opportunity, like that book, it becomes their avatar. They get
Mhm.
to do the things that they want to do outside, and then eventually they get enough gumption to actually do it on outside. Especially if they meet the right guy. It's like, because I've heard of stories of quote unquote girls being these quote unquote good girls, and then next thing you know, they get with the guy and he quote unquote bring it out of her. The reality
Mhm.
is it was probably already there. It was just dormant, and then the devil brought the right uh, what's the word? Not catalyst, but the right
Yeah, that's right.
stimulus to bring that behavior that was lying dormant
Oh,
out. That's what that's all about, folks. So, baby, you have any parting words that you want to give the young ladies about, you know, that are especially Christian women that are dealing with masturbation and how to overcome it. Anything you want to say? The floor is yours.
um, I mean, like I would say, like the biggest things for Christian women out there is to know, get, get rid of the toys. Get rid of the toys. Let me say that. Get rid of the toys. Get rid of the romance novels. You know, don't allow for friends to, force you into going to any like sex, where they buy the sex toys at sex stores, toy stores, stuff like that. Stay out of those type of things. If you are, and this, is probably something that men could probably benefit from too, but for women specifically, um, you know, stay out, key thing is stay out of the books, find something else to do with your time, and stay away from engaging in conversations with other women that are sexual in nature. Like I said, because you're already battling being by yourself, and those struggles with being lonely, which puts you.
Question. I say you had the flow. I'm sorry. Go finish your point, baby. Finish your
Oh,
point.
those yeah, that puts you in those situations where you're tempted to be, which is why I was saying that for women that are, dealing with loneliness or maybe even dealing with rejection, sometimes rejection, not feeling like, anybody wants you. Well, nobody wants me, so you feel like you have no option but to go in a fantasy world, because what, in a fantasy world you're never rejected, right? So, you know, that's something that you will have to, you have to give the Lord on that and ask him to deliver you and get set free from the spirit of rejection, and also, to help you with loneliness. Like I said, get around some friends and find other outlets to do with your time so that way you're not left idle.
Question. What do you say? And I said she had the last word. I will give her the last word, but I had a question I want to ask her. What about the one woman that says, "I'm not lonely. I I got a dude, right? I got a man.
Hmm.
Uh, but he's not putting out right."
Okay.
I'm sorry to put it to you like this, folks, but these are. I just want to say it in a way that some women that are looking at this might be thinking. My man is not putting out in the right way,
Okay.
and the reason that I watch porn or read these books is because I fantasize about really having that.
Okay.
What do you say to those people that said, I'm engaging in porn because this is really a secret desire that I have and my man can't fulfill me?
I mean, if you're in a marriage, which first of all, if you're not in a marriage already, that situation is not going to be blessed anyway because you're living in sin anyway. But for those of you that are married, just like me, my husband and I, we're married, and sometimes we discuss our sex life and stuff like that. If your spouse, is, you feel like they're not pleasing you or something like that, then
Hmm.
the best thing is to be honest with them, talk to them about it. I mean, yeah, maybe an awkward conversation, and it could be potentially hurtful. I mean, if you feel like it's that serious, then maybe perhaps you may want to see a sex therapist or something like that. But um, the first thing is to talk to, your spouse
Don't
about
bring
it.
the devil in your relationship.
Yeah,
That
talk to them
porn, that's
about
bringing
that
the
thing.
devil into it.
Don't
Man,
please don't go to outside persons. Like, don't discuss your bedroom or your marriage bed with friends. Don't discuss that with your parents. You want to keep that area, intimate, and keep that between you and your spouse and God, or you, your spouse, and somebody who is licensed and licensed, and they're qualified to be able to talk to you
man.
guys about that from an objective point of view, and not from the point of view of, well, now I know your business, and we'll use those things against
Yeah,
you. So
exactly.
um I would say that your first thing would be to talk to your spouse about it, let them know how you feel, and say, hey, I like this, I would like to do that. And maybe, and also if you're going to do that, give them the opportunity, give your spouse the opportunity to try to do things with you. You know what I mean? And when they do something right, you need to encourage that, let them know, because when you get married, you're trying to learn one another. So
And some of you guys are masturbating because um, before you got married, y'all didn't have that conversation, and now you have these expectations of different sex, and that other person may not necessarily want to do that. So now you got all this, felt like you got all this build up of pressure on you that you got to release. Whatever, you know what I'm saying. So have those conversations
but that's
because
something you have to be delivered from. Let me say
yeah,
that.
yes, thank you for
That
saying
is
that.
that's something that is, you can't blame that on your spouse. That's something you need to get set free from, because if you have been engaging in watching porn and things like that,
Hmm.
those you have developed an unnatural, unhealthy viewpoint and an unhealthy uh, desire, sexual desire, that nature. So you, because porn warps your sense of sexuality, you bring those warped views to your spouse, and then you expect for them to become all those nasty
Exactly.
things and
Yeah.
doing nasty things that you see
Exactly.
there.
And masturbation makes it
Yeah,
worse.
it makes it worse. So
Masturbation solidifies it.
correct. So you want to definitely, because that's like act fulfilled. So now first the seed is planted, the thoughts. Now, then with other things, that seed gets watered, and then when you have sex, it fulfills it. So, or when you masturbate, it fulfills it. So
Which
what
is
you
sex with yourself.
correct, it's basically sex with yourself. So
Hmm.
you want to definitely get yourself, if you're not married yet, get yourself set free from that first, so that way you don't introduce all these lewd and lascivious thoughts and unnatural and corrupted ways of sex and sexuality to your spouse, and put that on them, because I'm going to tell you honestly, they're not going to be able to satisfy that, because lust is not satisfied. They're not going to be able to live up to those fantastic or fantastical expectations, or this imagination that
Yeah,
you've got going on. You're always going to be dissatisfied,
yeah. You got to be
and it's
delivered.
not fair to your
You
spouse.
have to be. It's not. You have to be delivered from that because if you're not, you could be one of those people talking about some. Well, using these terms of well, the only way to get over old P is to get some new P, and y'all know what I mean by
No.
that, right?
Yeah.
Or saying, well, you know what?
The way to get over a man is to get under another one.
Yeah, and all that
No.
different type of weird worldly
Wrong.
knowledge.
Yeah.
Wrong. Because you've been so inundated with lust that you don't even understand how to have a normal healthy relationship. You keep it 100. You masturbated so much. You watch porn so much and you wonder why you can't never keep no man. And you
Yeah.
can't keep no man is because you're full of lust and you know how to please yourself. So now when you with a man,
He can't do it
he
because only
can't
you know
do
how
it.
to do it.
Only you know how to do it.
Because you trained yourself to you be the only one that
You've
knows how to
trained
please you.
yourself to know how to be the only person know how to do it, as my wife said.
And a demon.
And it's a demon at that. So folks, get delivered from this thing.
Yeah.
Young ladies, we
It
did this
will hurt
module.
you.
It will. And why you say that?
It will hurt you. It will hurt you in the long run, and you will regret it in the long run, because loneliness is not God's intention for you, but that is something that the devil will try to bring in. His goal for you is for you never to get married, and for you never to ever find a satisfying relationship, and this is something that will definitely keep you from having a long lasting, healthy, and sexually healthy, I think, relationship. What you
Yeah,
think?
yeah, I do. And you know what? I'm glad you said that, babe, because here's the other thing with that. The B part to that is that a lot of you guys, you young ladies, right? Women want to get married, and you've convinced yourself, well, basically you've done it for so long you become obstinate in it, meaning like, well, marriage is not for me, and then you become one of those people that's hating on people that's married or
Hmm.
how bitter and stuff like that because you can't see it for you, but
You're really
really
lying to
really you're
yourself.
lying to yourself, and really that root of bitterness is spraying up because you have chosen to continue to engage in that behavior. Here's how you know you got a calling to get married or it's for you because you got sex hormones. I've heard women's
Because you
with
desire sex. I
yeah,
mean,
you desire. I've heard women try to convince
mhm.
themselves. Well, you know what? God didn't give me that calling. God called me to be a nun or whatever. God called me to be, and then I asked them. I said, "Well, do you want to have sex? Do you have sexual desire?" Yes, I do.
Then
Well,
that's not for
you
you.
ain't got that calling.
That's
God
a
didn't.
special call to
That's
be
a
a eunuch.
special calling to be a eunuch. But if you desiring sex and you going home at night, not to be crass, but different things is going on to your body.
That body's talking to
Their
you.
body talking to you. Not to quote R. Kelly because we know what he is, but that part is true. My mind's telling me no, but my body's telling me yeah. You
Hmm.
got all that going on.
To battle.
Is you ain't meant to be married, and you need to be honest and open about it.
That bit to be single.
You're not meant to be single. I'm sorry.
To
You're
stay
not
like
be
that permanent. Yeah, we
right.
got you, babe.
And the thing is, at the end of the day, stop masturbating. Stop that. Because if you just start there, then I can guarantee you that spirit. See, the Bible said we wrestle not against flesh and blood. That spirit that has got you engaged in that behavior, once that thing is cast out and you've been delivered from that, then watch you have a healthy and productive relationship, right? Anything you want to say else, babe?
Yeah, just know that you can do it. It is possible to, be single and, meet your spouse and be set free from all, from somebody having to being that person that has to masturbate or what have you, because really, really truly it does hinder you from God bringing that person that you're supposed to be with into your life. And
Like you
it's
kick them out
basically
too
it can
if you got
also,
them.
yeah, it could cause a rift and a split and cause you to lose what you have if you have a spouse. And then it can also keep you from having a spouse both spiritually, because God's hands get tied, as far as bringing a spouse. So if you haven't been told, you definitely want to put that down and reconsecrate yourself. Maybe we could talk about that in a later video of getting
Absolutely.
yourself reconsecrated unto God, so that way the Lord can reseal you and clean you out and repurify your vessel. Um, and that way all that shame and darkness inside you goes away. So, but we can go into deeper. Check out the video at Porn Addicts Help, and
She said it perfect. Yeah.
at Porn Addicts Help. Definitely check out those classes and take those
Yep.
classes. Those are definitely worth it, where we go into deeper um,
Detail.
spiritual detail about different deep things that people don't tell you that can happen. And there you can kind of learn from those things what you're dealing with. You'll know, like, based on those things, like, okay, this is a demon, I need to be set free and be delivered. So check out pornaddictshelp.com. That is definitely um, a well deserved thing. You deserve it. You deserve to get set free, and it's worth the investment, definitely, to for your future.
Right.
You know.
We love you guys. God bless you, you young ladies and you young men out there that are watching this. Peace. Yeah, it was sad.